Welcome, everyone. I'm Harry Gottlieb, and we're here for another episode of Pillars of the Community, where we celebrate individuals, businesses, organizations, and institutions that support and benefit our community. Today we have Madi Paez from We Count down in Homestead, and we would like to share with the audience what she does with them and how she benefits our community. Madi, welcome.
Thanks, Harry. Thanks so much for having us and for having me on today's episode. My name is Madi. I'm one of the Solidarity Network organizers at We Count, which is a worker center based in Homestead in Miami-Dade County, Florida.
So share with us about We Count, when it started, who started it, how it benefits our community, who are your constituents, and tell us a little bit about them in particular.
Yeah, sure. So We Count was founded in 2006 as a worker center focused on advancing the rights of immigrant workers and families. And over the last 20 years, we've done work to, mobilize and advocate for thousands of immigrant workers across a variety of industries, most notably construction, domestic work, day laborers, and agricultural workers. And in 2021, we launched a historic campaign called Que Calor that sought to pass the country's first municipal heat ordinance.
So we have a very large Hispanic and Anglo audience. So how do you say "We calor" in English?
Yeah, Que Calor also meaning how hot.
How hot it is, because it's really hot out there when they're planting trees or planting shrubs and harvesting them, and people must be exhausted. And is there enough water and enough shade to protect these people?
Yeah, that's a great question. Maybe surprisingly, maybe not. Water, shade, and rest is not something that outdoor workers in Florida are guaranteed access to. And, we're talking about Miami, where workers experience heat indexes of 100, 105 degrees plus. It becomes very dangerous to be outside without having access to those conditions.
So is your organization meeting with the contractors to negotiate terms or to negotiate safety?
Yeah, that's a great question. So after the Que Calor campaign, the How Hot campaign that I mentioned that sought to pass this municipal heat ordinance, we were preempted by the Florida state legislature. And so it essentially became illegal for a county like Miami-Dade to pass a heat ordinance that would protect outdoor workers. And, we had to take a step back as an organization and think about what does it look like to win these types of protections for our members when we're in a state like Florida where, government and regulatory avenues are hard to come by. And so we decided, what about a campaign that instead goes to employers, to large companies that employ our members and see what they can do to support the working conditions that our members are asking for. And so that's where our current campaign, Planting Justice, or in Spanish, Sembrando Justicia, came to be, where we've launched an effort that seeks to transform the houseplant industry itself by winning direct agreements with major growers and major retailers of houseplants that enforce the working conditions that our members need right now.
So tell us about your constituents. You mentioned contracting companies, contractors, houseplants, vegetables and fruit as well, or no?
So right now, our Planting Justice campaign is focused on the folks that grow and cultivate our houseplants, so plant nursery workers. And then the people that we're asking to join us in the Planting Justice program by enforcing dignified working conditions are the major growers, so, the major nurseries and the big box retailers that sell houseplants.
Do the majority of them, are they empathetic, or are they just driven through profit and really don't care much about the workers themselves?
Yeah, I think we remain hopeful that, major growers and major retailers want to do the right thing to certify their commitment to workers by joining the Planting Justice program. There's a whole set of benefits that would come from joining the program. Think about a Home Depot, a Lowe's, or a Walmart. If they were to enter into the program, that sets them apart from other retailers, and they can say, we sell plants that we know were grown with working conditions that are fair and humane.
It's like the blood diamonds kind of a thing in South Africa, that you want to make sure that you bought a diamond that the person wasn't suffering in order to get the diamond on your girlfriend's ring.
Yeah, exactly. It's like people love buying houseplants. I'm not sure if you're a houseplant consumer yourself.
They usually die.
Yeah, they usually die. That's fair. They are sometimes hard to take care of, but yeah, many of us.
Well, it's not their fault. It's my fault. Don't pay enough attention to them.
But yeah, many of us don't recognize the hidden labor and human rights crisis that is behind this industry that, on the outside is a very beautiful one. And we actually participated in a survey of houseplant consumers, and we found that about 96% of them wouldn't want to buy houseplants if they knew that they were grown under really precarious and dangerous working conditions that are harmful to workers, which makes sense when you think about the type of person that enjoys having a houseplant in their home. I myself have houseplants in my home, and I want to feel good about the things that I bring into my house because I feel like, they have a wellness value that they bring.
So you're mostly speaking with Home Depot and Lowe's and even Trader Joe's. But are you speaking to the actual contractor that is hiring these individuals as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And so one thing that we're looking to do is speak to major growers who are at, the top of this industry to set the gold standard.
How many are there out here in South Florida?
There are dozens of nurseries and thousands of workers. And so we're talking about a very large industry. The houseplant industry across the United States is actually worth $50 billion. So we're not talking about pennies. And about 80% of the houseplants that are sold across the country are actually produced in Florida. Yeah.
So do you cover the entire United States or mostly South Florida?
So our base is in Homestead. That's who we're most in touch with. And that is, the core of this industry. Yeah.
Okay. What's the situation with immigration, with ICE, with the fear of being deported? Tell us a little bit about that, and then tell us a personal story that you have that you wanted to share with us.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I'm sure many of the viewers, might be aware of the surge in immigration enforcement that we're witnessing right now in the United States, and to no surprise, it's impacting workers everywhere, especially in places like Homestead. And yeah, exactly what you said is spot on. People are afraid to leave their homes. It's harder to do the day-to-day things like go to work, take your kids to school, buy groceries. I can share a story of one of our members.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, she often tells the story about a work day in August, which we know is like peak heat season. It's very warm outside, and she started to feel unwell, and she had a headache. And so she asked one of her coworkers for some medicine to help her feel better. And her coworker in that moment noticed that she was suffering from facial paralysis, and she didn't know that yet. So her coworker let her know what was happening to her, and she attempted to alert her supervisor that she wasn't feeling well, that she was suffering from this paralysis, and the supervisor said, "Are you okay to drive home?" And so she drove home while suffering facial paralysis, suffering from heat illness and heat stress, and didn't receive pay for that day's work. and she managed to take a couple days off of work to recover. But as a single immigrant mother, who's earning wages that are barely above $12 an hour, she had to return to work before she was fully recovered. And so she came back to work still with facial paralysis, and her supervisor said, well, you're here to work, so you must be feeling well, and your production quota must be the same as your fellow coworkers. And so she had to go back to work under these conditions. And this isn't an isolated story. It's something we hear from our members very often. And it's really unfortunate that there is this crisis behind an industry that, so many of us really appreciate, and we want to feel good about, the conditions that our plants are grown and cultivated. And unfortunately, that's just not the case.
Is she still here?
Yeah.
Is it possible to get her to move to another grower?
There's a lot of complications in shifting workplaces, and I will say that this is not isolated to a single grower. This is existent in the industry itself. These are practices that are very common, which is, again, why our campaign is seeking to transform the houseplant industry rather than just think about, single isolated workplaces, because we know that, it's expansive.
But there must be some good growers that people flock to and other bad growers that people try to avoid as much as possible.
I'm not sure that I can say that that's true. Yeah, I think based on what we've learned and what our members have told us, this is an industry that is rife with these human rights and labor abuses. And on Valentine's Day, we actually we released a report called "The Human Cost of Houseplants."
Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's a report that we launched after our members surveyed over 300 workers in Homestead across a variety of nurseries. And what we learned is that folks aren't just experiencing extreme heat, it's also exposure to toxic pesticides. Workers aren't provided with protective equipment, right? Goggles, gloves, the things that you need to be kept safe while working with pesticides, working with cutting materials, you're pruning plants, and so workers are all the more prone to injury. We've learned about poverty wages. Workers are earning on average a little over $12 an hour, and we all know that that's not a livable wage in a place like Miami-Dade. Folks are experiencing sexual harassment in the workplace as well, retaliation. And so when people choose to speak up about what they're experiencing, there's a whole set of consequences that come as a result.
We are totally empathetic for humans and welcoming them to this country, and we want them to get educated, speak English. We would like to have their children educated so that they can move up the ladder and be successful. Before we end this conversation, I'd like to bring up another concern of ours. How long will the agricultural industry remain if developers keep spreading out and building townhouses all over the Redlands and Homestead and Cutler Bay? If the land is not protected to be agricultural, it will go residential, and we will not have an agricultural industry. How does that concern your organization?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've been seeing, development increase in Florida, especially in agricultural communities like Homestead. And so it's definitely something that we talk about often as a team, and what that means for, the workers who are very much reliant on having access to work in places like the plant nurseries. And so again, that's even more reason for us to launch the Planting Justice campaign, because it offers a way for workers to be protected when things begin to change at very fast rates. Unfortunately, agricultural workers, they don't have the legal protections that other private sector workers have. Government regulations are often weak and underutilized. The corporate social responsibility mechanisms that can protect workers are also limited in what they're able to do. And so that's why we believe in our solution as a way to make sure that, workers are protected amidst all the changes we can expect to come in the future.
Do you have any relationship with the mayor, the Dade County mayor, or the Dade County commissioners for those areas? And if so, do they have empathy for your cause?
Yeah, over the years, the last 20 years that We Count has been in existence, we've developed numerous relationships with our county and city officials. And yeah, similar to our stance on, receiving the support of major growers and retailers, we believe that this is a win-win situation for everyone. And we're hopeful that the community will come together to support plant nursery workers.
So how do people participate in your organization? How do they help you with fundraising, or how do they help you as volunteers?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so we're actually trying to build out a robust volunteer solidarity network in Miami. And for more information, you can visit our website that I'm sure will be included.
But why don't you say it just in case?
Sure. So it's we-count.org. And on that website, you'll see a solidarity tab where you can find more information about joining us as a volunteer, as well as becoming a solidarity sustainer, where you can donate monthly to support our work. And then we also know we're approaching the end of summer. Labor Day is coming up. National Indoor Plant Week is also a holiday that is coming up towards the end of September. And We Count is planning numerous activities that we'd love to share more about in the future as we have those plans finalized. And by reaching out to us on that solidarity page, you can become involved.
So we want everybody that goes shopping for houseplants at Home Depot, Lowe's, Trader Joe's to remember this interview and to remember the name of your organization and to help support the organization and help to support these people that are bringing much joy into their houses by bringing in these living plants into your house. And we want to thank everybody for listening today, and we want to remind everybody to please participate in your community and get involved, attend commission meetings, especially if it's about zoning, traffic, crime, and the environment, and speak out about all these issues. And last but not least, what do we always say? Don't ask what your community can do for you, but
ask what you can do for your community.
What you can do for your community. Thank you, everybody. Until next time.